Ironheart. Dojja has been silent for quite some time. I was under the impression that, while in human form, this was a physical impossibility for her. Yes, she's certainly become entranced by the rapidly passing environment. And she'll have plenty of time to relish the new experience. We've many hours to go until we reach the port of Zoem. Pardon? Oh, I was in Ohem on most days the past several weeks. Yuselina was aiding me with recalling my previous trainings. It's only recently that I ventured toward the border of Raksumi, when the assistance of a healing mage was requested in the camp. Ah, I presume you've yet to step foot into any of the Guardfey Embasave, else you'd have no reason to ask what Ohem is like. Its outer limits aren't too extraordinary to look upon. The shores of the island appear like virtually any other inlay yard, unadulterated by foreign entities. Of course, the closer you move to the center of Mohiai, the more you'll find the indigenous ecosystem displaced by the life from the realm of kah-nuh. Foliage of deep indigos and vibrant magenta sprouting from cobalt blue stalks, soil turned the color of violet wine, home to numerous strange, creeping and slithering things. I can scarcely describe the wildlife in terms that would be familiar to you. Many of the plants and animals have fronds or fur that glows, or that glistens in the light of the sun. And none of the animals allowed through are dangerous. So you can wander for miles upon miles without worrying about harm coming to you. How like kah-nuh, is it? I wouldn't know. I've never been through the Veil, though I've asked Yuselina for permission many times. Excuse me. The Veil is the name the Guardfey use to refer to portals between realms. I'm told the Guardfey do not feel the word portal is befitting. They have a better grasp on reality and how it functions than we do. Yuselina attempted to explain once. Something about how the veil does not move you, but instead it invigorates the substance of your body in some way, so as to allow you to see and touch a higher realm, and enervates it to access a lower realm. I don't really understand it myself. I became accustomed to referring to it as the Veil, instead of using the word portals, after being in Embasave Ohem for many weeks.
What are the two of you talking about?
Nothing important. Have you finally grown weary of watching the trees go by?
For the moment, anyway. Though it is fascinating. I've rarely ever flown this low to the ground, especially at this speed. You must be eager to arrive at our destination, Vidori.
Surely we all are. You for the sake of your health, and we simply to complete such a long journey.
It is strange that the discomfort from the wound is tangible in human form. But as long as I don't enter elephant form, I shouldn't have to worry about any serious consequences.
Is that so? How does that work? You only suffer the health effects of wounds, while in the body that was damaged?
In normal circumstances, I would not even feel the wound if I were to enter into another form. Of course, I could neither hope for the wound to heal unless I took the injured form again and allowed time for it to mend itself.
Dojja, how did your people come to be as they are? I mean, I've heard the legend. As punishment for fleeing the war, the Ranian rulers were forced to take the form of animals. But, well, I would presume that, provided you have some sort of tradition of passing on your history, you might know more about what happened than the rest of us.
That is one of my favorite stories. Perhaps I could tell you through the rite of chronicling. Ironheart told me the story of your war with the Oka this way.
What is the rite of chronicling, Ironheart? I'm in no mood to repeat what you say like some sort of cockatoo. Besides, I am busy piloting the arcanacraft. Just tell us the story the normal way, and we'll listen with rapt attention. Will that suffice?
Oh, well, okay. Let's see. Many years ago, the kingdoms of men came under attack by a new and dire threat from the waves. A race of terrible monsters that seemed poised to wipe out all those who stood in their way. The kings knew they could not possibly face alone a threat that had devastated the coastal cities so ruthlessly and efficiently. I've come to recognize that the enemy in the story is the Oka.
What keen insight.
The kings met at an unprecedented summit to discuss the fate of their sovereignty. It was agreed that they could only hold their own if they could operate in unison, bringing their full combined might against the front line. The kings each agreed to contribute resources and manpower, and to shelter civilians if need be. They then went their separate ways to prepare for war. When the kings next met, one among them was missing, so they searched for him in his kingdom, but he was nowhere to be found. His people revealed where he and his family had gone. They had collected men, goods, and transport, and left for the shores of Simat Bay. This rightfully angered the other rulers, and they demanded justice to be meted out. Eventually, one of the demigods was sent to investigate.
Our legend holds that the demigod sent was the key-born Valkind named Domman. He's the most powerful mage in all the 5 realms.
Domman? Okay, I'll remember that. Domman followed after the nobility until he eventually came upon a small settlement. He questioned the villagers, the men and women who'd come alongside the rulers, and they directed him to them. When he approached, he had the family brought out before him so that he might question their actions. First, he pressed the king for the reason they had backed off from the front lines. When he heard this, the king simply denied that they had acted in this way at all. "What? We are not running, and we certainly haven't betrayed anyone. What a preposterous notion," he said. Next, the king's wife was interrogated. "How could you deal so treacherously with the other kingdoms?" the demigod asked. Building upon her husband's lies, she insisted. "In fact, I reassure you, we are here merely scouting the lands for a secure point from which to launch our own invasion." But the Valkind knew she meant to deceive him. Domman next approached the prince and asked how he felt about what he and his family had done. Shivering in terror, he could scarcely even speak. He fell upon the ground and attempted to hide himself in the dirt and fallen leaves. Some say that he grabbed hats from the others to cover himself, but I feel that's a little too silly myself. Anyway, Domman's sight finally fell upon the king's cousin. This man was so cowardly that he couldn't even handle being in the demigod's gaze. He turned and fled as fast as his legs could carry him into the forest. He was never seen by his family again. The demigod, understandably, was appalled at their behavior. For allowing fear to consume and erode their honesty, modesty, dignity, and resolution, he summarily denounced them, saying, "You have spoken deceptively and broken your covenant with your neighbors, preferring to act as the animals who flee into the trees to avoid danger and detection. It is only fitting redress that you and yours should become that which you so faithfully emulate." So the ruling family, dozens strong, then and there were transformed into the Lord of Kind. Oh, this is one of the names the Suscarain call themselves. They would be able to become any creature they might desire, but the human form would evade them. And since no one among those who had made the journey with them had seen what happened to them, the humbled lords and ladies were left no choice but to take to the jungle paths and attempt to survive in the wild. Such is the tale of how the Lord of, how the Suscarain came to be.
Domman's sense of justice is poetic. While the punishment for acting out of instinct like an animal was to become just that. If you could manage to convince someone that you were more than an animal, you would be worthy of regaining a human figure. And to do that would force you to exhibit traits conspicuously isolated to intelligent peoples, like altruism and virtue. That's certainly a lesson the people of Ran could stand to learn. We will need to be prepared to take whatever action is necessary, whatever the cost, if we are to halt the collective armies of the Okar. You are from Ran, Ironheart? Do you speak in earnest? I meant no offense. I'll take your testimony under advisement, Ironheart. But with that being said, the kingdom of Ran has yet to pledge itself to our cause, even while the Okar are advancing up the coast every week. Forgive me. It's hard to imagine that Ran is unlike its reputation would suggest. Nevertheless, I was unaware of your heritage until now. Which, of course, speaks to your character. It's clear to me you do not share the qualities commonly associated with your countrymen. You have seen disaster on the same waves as my sister. Things no man deserves to witness. You have my respect, Ironheart.